Christmas is that time, again, that memories come back and you think, oh, we used to do this with so-and-so and so-and-so, and now we're estranged. And to have a right relationship with the people in our lives that matter is so important. And yes, I think forgiveness is, I don't think it's necessarily easy, but it's certainly attainable. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a huge amount of vulnerability. To be able to say to somebody, I'm ashamed of what I did. I want you to forgive me. That my life is not complete without that forgiveness, and that you hold that power over me by not forgiving me is not an easy thing to admit to. And it's that level of vulnerability that I think, you know, again, the fact that Jesus, and we celebrate the birth of a baby, the most vulnerable of creatures, puts us in touch with that level of vulnerability as well. Well, you know, we're coming up on an election year, and the whole idea of compassion and what's the role of society in caring for, you know, the New Testament uses language in the least of our sisters and brothers, and there's a translation that I like quite a bit called The Message, and it says, instead of the least of our sisters and brothers, it talks about the ignored and the overlooked. And I think that's a more accurate description. I think we are called to care for the ignored and the overlooked, and not just on a personal level. Certainly, you know, my politics come through, but I think on a societal level, I think it's a role of government to care for the ignored and the overlooked. And you can argue with me all day long, but you can't argue with me about kids that, you know, aren't responsible for the situation that they're in. They were simply born into it. And if we're not going to care for the kids and we're not going to care for that generation, we're just going to do this forever. And we clearly are our brother's keeper and sister's keeper. I think there is, yes, one God. I think there is one source of life. I think there is one being that is creator. I think we name it differently. We've had different experiences of faith communities. I think it's an arrogance of wanting to be right and wanting to have the truth. And when someone challenges that you have the truth, you know, conflict breaks out. I think if we could all get to the point of saying, you know, we really don't know, and we're all ignorant. We all have some experiences that are all valid. And if we could get to the point where we could share those experiences and find the commonalities in those experiences and admit that they're not just our experiences, but that they're perhaps global experiences. I don't know that people in a family can all just get along. I think we are such different creatures that part of the joy and challenge of being alive and living in community, you know, God created us so that we really can't live a solitary life, that we have to live in community. But didn't make doing that very easy and made it a challenge, but it's a lovely challenge. It's a lovely task to try and negotiate a long-term relationship with a significant other. It's a lovely burden that we take on to try and parent our children, or to live with neighbors or coworkers. It's not easy, and it requires constant vigilance and work. And I think that's a lovely thing. I think it's a lovely way to spend your day. If you're exhausted at the end of the day because you really struggled to stay in community with friends or family or coworkers, I think that's a good thing. Compassion means at its root to suffer with, and I think that's what we're called to do, both not just as clergy or leaders of a faith community, but as neighbors and friends and family. You know, when our lives come apart, sometimes we don't need answers. Sometimes what we need is simply just someone to hold our hand and walk with us, and that's what we do. And I get pummeled with questions all the time that I have no idea. And I think the greatest comfort that I can give is that it's okay not to know, and it's okay to wonder, and it's really okay to doubt, and it's really okay to be mad at God, and it's really okay to be sad and simply pissed off. And I'm happy and honored and privileged to be a part of your life at those moments and to walk with you. My fondest wish is really that people would find a sense or feel a sense of worth and purpose. That I think so many of our struggles that we face and that are manifest in greed and corruption and injustice, really deep down, I think if folks could have a genuine sense of worth and purpose, and really overall a sense of gratitude